The Florida Panthers start the year 2024 with a win in Tempe, Arizona, and it is their second win in Mullett Arena in 2 tries. We're going to discuss that and the stretch that the Panthers have been on in the last 5 games.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, January 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News, and you can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers. And shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On for $20 off your first purchase, all on the Game Time app. So the Florida Panthers start off the year 2024 just like how they ended the year 2023 with a win and a game where once again the Florida Panthers did not trail in this one. Once again, we'll discuss more about the Panthers not trailing and how the trend has been like that for the Panthers in segment number 3. But it is a Wednesday, which means it is a Winans Wednesday edition of the show. Jacob Winans is back. And Jacob, Happy New Year, and great to be staying up at this time of recording. It's 12:39 a.m. on a Wednesday morning past midnight. Happy New Year, my friend, and great to see a win.
Happy New Year. It's always happy when we get a W. And, these games are a lot more fun to stay up late for when we're winning. That wasn't a snooze fest like their last West Coast road trip. So I'll take it. It's a good start to the new year. A lot of positive things in that game. So I'm happy.
Yeah, and you think about with this one for the Panthers as far as the pace of the game, what happened with this versus the final 40 minutes of this one. I mean, it starts off with the Panthers winning a puck battle. Verhaeghe drives to the net and it's spun around, and it's not called, but you're seeing the Panthers on consistently on the forecheck and all, and stopping the Arizona Coyotes as far as the neutral zone, and then all like quick breakouts and all that. And I mean, really, the Arizona Coyotes, their big rushes as far as that, they didn't really come until before the shorthanded goal. I mean, you saw one at 4-on-4 after the Arizona Coyotes were assessed the 5-minute major. You really didn't see the rush chances going on for the Arizona Coyotes really until before that as well. But I mean, when you think about the Panthers as far as their rushing and gaining speed through the neutral zone as well. I mean, you see it in multiple goals. I mean, you see it on the Verhaeghe goal where Bennett gets a back check and then the Panthers go the counterattack the other way. A centering feed that's blocked. Verhaeghe gets his own gets back to Verhaeghe. He scores, and then I mean, you think about later in the game. I mean, yeah, the Panthers go the whole second period without scoring, but you think about how they eliminated the Arizona Coyotes as far as scoring opportunities. The final 40 minutes, the Panthers don't allow any. They only allow 7 shots on goal through the final 40. But also, even when the Arizona Coyotes scored shorthanded, it still felt like the Florida Panthers were still well in control of this game. I mean, you think about the second line. I mean, the first period, all their shot attempts, none of them were blocked. And even Randy Moeller pointed out on the broadcast that the Arizona Coyotes weren't adjusting to the Florida Panthers forecheck, and they're pinching into the zone as well. And really, I mean, it was just a lot of offensive zone time for the Cats.
Yeah, and it's pretty much a perfect road game. That's the exact formula that you want on the road is timely goals and lockdown defense. And I think the Coyotes are the type of team that the Panthers should really take advantage of in a situation like that, and they did. That's not to say the Coyotes are bad. They're not a pushover team anymore. They're not an easy win. You just walk into their building and beat them like they have been in the past few years. That's a legit team that's on the rise. But the one thing with that team is that they are very undersized. It's a lot of smaller, faster, quicker skill guys. They haven't gotten to that stage in their rebuild where they've supplemented that speedy skill group with veteran grinders and that kind of balance of heavy play as well, which that'll come for them. But where the Panthers are right now, that was a big advantage. The Panthers had the size, the speed, the strength, just kind of lean on those young guys for Arizona. When they won almost all the puck battles on the boards, clogging the shooting lanes. That's why, and it's hard when you're a smaller team. It's hard to get to the dirty areas and get the rebounds and the screens and make things tough for Bobrovsky. The Coyotes just weren't able to do it because the Panthers are just a bigger, stronger team right now. And that's really what you want to see. You don't want to see the Panthers playing down to their competition. Again, Arizona's a pretty good team this year. It's just play style wise, the Panthers had them outmatched size wise, strength wise, experience wise, and you could really see that show up. It was defensive dominance, and then on top of that, Arizona was just really undisciplined tonight. Some stupid penalties, so just a bunch of stuff that didn't make sense. Kind of killed their own momentum when they had it. And the Panthers didn't panic after a mistake on the power play. You give up a shorty, they come right back. They get 2 goals in 47 seconds. It was 2 goals in under a minute. End up really taking control of the game, and they never let their foot off the gas. Pretty much perfect from a road game perspective. It was defensive dominance for 2 whole periods to end that game. It could have been more than 4-1, honestly, but they stayed the course. Got the breaks that they deserved and shut down defense against a team that has a lot of skill. You got to use your size advantage when you have it. And against a speedy, skilled team like that, keep everything to the outside. That's the formula. And they executed perfectly tonight.
Yeah, 42 seconds was exactly the time apart those goals were when the Panthers cashed in on the power play, which is now Sam Reinhart's 11th power play goal of the season. And that goal, with Barkov with the assist on it on the sharp angle shot, that was assist 416 for the franchise record as well. And now he's 2 games played away from playing his 700th game in a Florida Panthers sweater as well. So big congrats to the captain as well. And also the Panthers avoided possibly some injury disasters as well in this one. Eetu Luostarinen goes down early as well as he was hit up high pretty early on by Alex Kerfoot. And then Nick Cousins. I mean, let's just go right into it and talk about it. I mean, Nick Cousins finishes a check on Valimaki, collides to near the Panthers blue line, and then Zucker takes multiple strides, comes charging at Nick Cousins, and like you said, the Arizona Coyotes really shot themselves in the foot as well. And credit to Gus Forsling for standing up for his teammate. Unfortunately, he was assessed a minor, 5 for fighting, and then a 10-minute misconduct as well. And then he gets an empty net goal on his first shift in like over 17 minutes. Doesn't play 75% of the third period. So I thought that was kind of hilarious as well. And also, I got to point this out. Right before the Panthers PK towards the end, they play Sweetness, and then the Panthers don't give up a single shot on goal towards the end as well. So, Jacob, gotta get your thoughts on the hit by Zucker on Nick Cousins, and how really that basically ended the game for the Coyotes, even though it was only 1-0 at the time.
Yeah, I mean that really, it seemed like it was just going to be a low event, kind of a snooze fest of a game. The Panthers seemed to be coasting. Arizona got a few chances, but there wasn't really much going on. Really low event, low energy game, which I think would have favored Arizona going into the third period momentum wise, because it can be tough. It can be tough to get the legs going for a game that you're really not that into mentally. A game that's not high energy, but as soon as that hit happens, the Panthers were engaged for the rest of the way, and that really turned the entire tide of the game. Really ended the game for Arizona. And from Zucker, it's stupid. It's stupid and dangerous. It's reckless, and it's just dirty. There's no place in the game for it, and it's weird coming from him because he's a veteran. He's been in the league forever. This is his first year in Arizona, spent some time in Pittsburgh, Minnesota before that. He's a guy who's been around. He knows better. He's dealt with some injury issues of his own. And you don't want to go out and try to hurt somebody. And Nick Cousins is a guy, we know he gets under the opponent's skin. That's kind of his game. He already had an incident where he got attacked in Columbus with Eric Goodbranson. We discussed that. That happened before one of our recordings as well. So it's Nick Cousins is a guy who irritates other teams, and that's kind of his MO. But I didn't see anything malicious from Cousins on that play. The puck was right there, and Valimaki's a guy. He's actually recovering from an injury, a really scary injury, actually. I don't know if you read the story about that, but he took a puck to the mouth and was left in the hospital without treatment for hours and had internal bleeding. So he's actually still wearing a face cage to protect himself. There was nothing malicious from Nick Cousins there. He jumped and made contact with Valimaki on the boards, but he was trying to hold the puck in the zone, and he arrived a little bit late. But the thing with that, everyone was talking about Cousins, how that was a dirty hit from him. He didn't even hit him. He jumped and brushed him from the side. And then as he's reaching out his hand to make sure Valimaki's okay and actually help him up off the ice is when he gets destroyed from behind, which makes no sense to me. And I really hate the instigator rule. I don't know what you expect Forsling to do when he sees his teammate who looked almost unconscious. When he sees his teammate down after a hit like that. The hockey gods justified it with the goal at the end. It was a weird one, but I expect a lengthy suspension for Zucker, and there's no place in hockey for that. So it's unfortunate that it went that way, but Cousins seems to be a marked man right now.
And Paul Murray spoke after the game, asked about Forsling's empty net goal, and he said, quote, "He was fresh."
Yeah, I guess he was.
And also credit to the referees, not only for that, for the putting the right call as far as Zucker, as far as the major, but when O'Brien cross-checked Lundell as well, putting the 10-minute misconduct there as well for O'Brien, who also bumped into Bobrovsky very early into the game. That was an obvious goalie interference as well. So
they did a great job at the end. Definitely did a great job there at the end, getting control before anything got out of hand. When you see something like that, you get him out of the game quickly, especially for a game. You don't want it to devolve into chaos like the Ottawa game. So
yeah, no doubt. But we're gonna transition over to segment number 2. We're gonna discuss more about when we thought this game was won or lost, and our 3 stars of the game as well. We are gonna discuss that and more here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, and the NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is super easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet on live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab and make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays and more. And with the race to the NFL postseason and both the Miami Dolphins and Jacob's Dallas Cowboys both are battling for the 2 seed, you might want to put your bets on FanDuel. So you can do that by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts on Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. So, Jacob, 3 stars of the game, plus when we thought this game was won or lost. So, I think you might be surprised of someone who might be on this list, but I think this guy deserves. Let me start actually with my 3rd star. 3rd star is Sergei Bobrovsky. The only goal he gives up is unfortunately on a shorthanded goal, a turnover by Ulrich Larson, and then actually was going to be a delayed penalty had the Arizona Coyotes not scored there. And not the best game by Oliver Ekman-Larsson as well. Had a hold on had a hold towards the end of the third period, and the Arizona Coyotes did have a lot of extended zone time after that before the whistle even blew. So, I mean, maybe a little nervous coming into an old, not necessarily an old building, but an old region for him as well. But I got to put Sergei Bobrovsky as star number 3 as far as that. Second star for me is Gustav Forsling, just because of the situation. I'm reading the room with standing up for his teammate and then getting the empty net goal. Yeah, his ice time was down today. Yeah, the Panthers didn't have him on the PK and all that, and even on power play too as well. But just based on the situation, in that instance, I'm going to put Gus Forsling as the second star. And number 1 is Carter Verhaeghe for me. Just consistently driving play and created a turnover that resulted in the Tkachuk goal. But Tkachuk deserved, I think, honestly, you could put so many honorable mentions today. Tkachuk for breaking a 9-game goalless streak as well. The defense, the blue line for the Panthers, consistently getting up into play, jumping up as well on as far as the trailer. The pinches were pretty crisp for the blue line as well. Multiple guys with 4 shots on goal, like Aaron Ekblad is one of them as well. Brandon Montour. So many honorable mentions, but those are my 3 stars. For you, 3 stars, Jacob.
My third star is going to be Carter Verhaeghe. He's on an absolute tear right now. He's been fantastic. He can't seem to stop scoring goals. My second star, I'm kind of torn between Bob and Sam Reinhart here. I could give it to either of them. Sam Reinhart still on fire. I'm going to give it to Bob, and then my first star, it has to be Gus Forsling. I love that he stepped up for. I love that he stepped up for Cousins. It's crazy to see Gus Forsling in a fight. That was really weird. I don't think any of us knew he had that in him. He pretty handedly won that fight too. It wasn't exactly close. I don't want to see him dropping the gloves too often, but that was one was right in his weight class, and he handled business. So he's definitely my number 1 star. But like you said, the defense was phenomenal, and Aaron Ekblad definitely is my top honorable mention. He played a fantastic shutdown defensive game tonight, and it did a really good job. After he loses his partner for pretty much the entire third period. So he was playing with Ekman-Larsson for the third period, and he was really good defensively, having to start that period with a brand new partner and play most of the rest of the game without his usual running mate in Forsling. So those are my 3 stars. Ekblad really flashed tonight as a really positive player, and those are my 3 stars. Same 3 as you, but just different order. But I don't know how you can go with anyone but Gus tonight. He was phenomenal. I really enjoyed his performance.
Yeah, and it's not all because of what he did on the stat sheet as far as that. It's the emotion of the game as well when it comes to that. And also, got to give credit to the Panthers as far as just not going away from their game when they gave up the shorthanded goal. I mean, you saw the top line for the Panthers. I mean, Erod had a beautiful feed to Barkov, but just couldn't tee it up into an open net. And then Barkov had a beautiful feed to Brandon Montour shortly after the shorthanded goal as well. And then, I mean, Carter Verhaeghe almost scored shortly after his first one too. But Lawson Cross had a big block. I mean, that was on the first power play. Panthers had like over a minute and 30 in the Arizona zone. I mean, let me see how many power play shots they had. I think they had 9, if I'm not mistaken. They had a total of 10 shots on goal on the power play as well. So it was moving. It was crisp. As far as, and I think I did mention this earlier in the show. As far as when I thought this game was won or lost, I thought it was won before the third period even started, because I thought I have as far as like my way of thinking, as far as what you said earlier about size for the Panthers, this is what the work in the offseason was all about, to get bigger and to suffocate the middle of the ice as well on defense as far as when they do play against smaller teams like Arizona as well. So this is just the offseason kind of manifested, and when you show it in like when you look at it in the micro as well for this game specifically, you see that's the offseason work that Bill Zito put together. As far as when you thought this game was won for the Panthers, when did you think it was for them?
I agree. I think it was. I think this game was won before the third period even started. I think the game was won when Zucker threw that hit on Cousins. I think that immediately woke up the Panthers. They sometimes it takes something, a hit, a fight, something outside of play, something post whistle. Sometimes it takes a little bit of extracurricular to jump you into the game, and I think that really got the Panthers engaged. So I think it was won there. But yeah, like you said, it was in past years, this might have been a track meet of a game, just skill on skill. But the Panthers are a much heavier team now, and a team like Arizona, if they wanted to get physical and get nasty and play that chippy game, they're not really constructed to do that with a team like the Panthers. And you really saw the result of that. The Panthers took that almost as it felt like they took that a little bit personally, and they were like, okay, this is the style we're going to play. This is the style we're going to play. And the Panthers are much better at it than Arizona is at this stage. So I think it was won in that second period. And it's funny that you mentioned the power play. The first power play of the game, that was probably the best the Panthers power play has looked all season. And then they don't score a goal, but then the one power play goal they do get is just off of a wild cross ice pass from Barkov that grazes Sam Reinhart's stick and goes top shelf. It's
for the record.
Yep, it's insane. It almost reminded me of Jágr breaking getting the points record with an assist off his butt. It's just, hockey's a weird sport. And then later on in the game, we almost get an own goal from Nick Bjugstad on the empty net back the other way, which that would have been something. He would have gotten in my 3 stars if that would have gone in. So yeah, it's a weird game sometimes, but the breaks tend to go your way when you play your style, and the Panthers definitely played that heavy style to a T.
One thing I do want to reiterate, as far as something that I said about big keys for the Panthers, as far as this one is, like Arizona came into this game 30th in shots for per game, and one of the keys I said was the ability to win your defensive zone draws, even though the Panthers didn't really spend too much time in the defensive end. I thought that with the discrepancy being 2/3 in favor of the Panthers, that was a big for the Panthers as far as puck possession as well. That really helped them as far as just matching speed for speed as well and eliminating it for the opposition. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss more of the Panthers and how great this stretch really has been for them. We're going to discuss that and more here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the best place to find last-minute tickets. With zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Segment number 3 here on this Wednesday, January 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Winans Wednesday edition of the show. So, Jacob, the Panthers, their second 5-game winning streak of the season, and it's crazy. If this time last year we were still waiting for that first 3-game winning streak, didn't happen until early February, just the turnaround. And the Panthers broadcast brought up the stats of goals for the Panthers, and through a certain amount through 36 games, and their goals for, it's about 30 less, but the goals against are lower as well. So continuing that style that made them successful as well. So great to see the Florida Panthers continuing on. Unfortunately, in the Atlantic Division, the Boston Bruins did win. So no, the Panthers did not gain ground tonight in the Atlantic Division. But let's just talk about this stretch, man, for the Panthers. And power play goals in 4 out of their last 5 games, 30% clip, 6 of 20, 10-11 on the PK, which the Panthers, they have given up more shorthanded goals during this stretch than power play goals. One to Zibanejad, and then tonight against the Arizona Coyotes. But Jacob, just incredible what the Panthers are doing. And then, of course, the leaders are doing most of the work. I mean, with Rhino, multiple power play goals, and even the one night that the Top Guns don't get it going, it's you have Etu Listerine and Oliver Ekman-Larsson against the Montreal Canadiens, putting in the depth scoring as well for the Panthers. And then tonight, on a night like tonight, like I mentioned earlier, Tkachuk breaks his 9-game goalless streak as well. And I tweeted this, and I'm going to say it on the show. It's on the record. I said before the new year that Matthew Tkachuk is going to match his goal total this month than he has have as many goals this month as he did in the first 3. And even though the Coyotes did knock it into their own net on the second chance, hey, a goal is still a goal, and it's a confidence boost. And Tkachuk did say, I only like when we win, when I score. Oh, and my Google Nest just detected my voice, but I wasn't talking to my Google Nest. But Jacob, just let's talk about this stretch for the Panthers, these last 5 games. How are you processing all this?
It was needed after the Western Conference road trip that they just really looked flat, and then they come back at home and really put up a nothing game against St. Louis. I think they were reeling a little bit, especially offensively, and they finally broke out of that. It took a while through that Vegas game to really break the ice, but once they did, you kind of felt like the floodgates would open. And getting the confidence of winning some games against some really, really good teams. We kind of looked at this stretch of Vegas, Tampa Bay, New York. We looked at those teams as really challenging teams. You're hoping after that really poor stretch of hockey that you're not going to free fall in the standings against those teams. And the Panthers have just lined them up and knocked them down. Offensively, they've come alive. And honestly, they've come alive without some of their guys really breaking out of slumps. I mean, you saw Etu score a couple goals, but that line hasn't produced a ton of offense. Anton Lundell is still struggling to score. Matthew Tkachuk on the second line just now finally scores a goal, but he's been struggling. From the defense, you haven't had a lot of goals defensively. Aaron Ekblad finally got one on the board, but he and Montour haven't really gotten going offensively yet. You expect that to happen at some point. These are guys that are not going to stay quiet. So you expect that to happen. And the fact that they're winning some of these big games without that consistent production is definitely encouraging. As long as that production shows up without sacrificing defense, which the Panthers have shown, and they've looked very committed to their defensive game lately. Bob has hit his stride. Stolarz is really solid as a backup option right now. I think they're in a really good spot, and health-wise, knock on wood here, but they're healthy for the first time. You hope Nick Cousins isn't out, but they look healthy. We've got guys back in the lineup. It's been a kind of mix and match roster to start the year. They stayed afloat, but now that they're healthy, they seem to be finding their stride. So we'll see how long this streak can continue. The next game for me is undoubtedly the toughest one on the trip. Colorado, yes, a better team than Vegas, in my opinion, but that Vegas game is going to be that game's going to be a little bit spicy. I think after the way the last one ended, it was that game in general. Vegas's trip to South Florida was very heated, very hotly contested, super physical. Some stuff that went over the line near the end, but that one's going to be tough. The Panthers had never won in that building, so that'll be the biggest test on the trip. But I think the Panthers are in no better position to break that streak than right now, because you're coming in on a win streak. Vegas has been struggling mightily for the last little bit after their super hot start. They just got shut out in the Winter Classic, so they're going to be extra motivated. But that's going to be one that I'm looking to see what the Panthers can do physically. We'll see how prepared they look, how into the game they are. Should take no motivation. That's the building that ended your season where you had to watch them celebrate a Stanley Cup. If you're not charged up and ready to go for that one, I don't know what'll do it for you. So I'm excited to see that game. But right now, this is the best hockey they've played all year.
Yeah, and shut out by former Charlotte checker Joey Decord when they shared an affiliate with the Florida Panthers. Let's not forget that as well, as far as Joey Decord, which, by the way, he went to Arizona State as far as that. So crazy, a little
He shut us out
there
too a couple of weeks ago.
Yep. So that's the first shutout in Winter Classic history. So that's a pretty cool accomplishment by Joey Decord as well. And hopefully the Panthers are exercising some demons on the next one, especially because the fact that not only did they lose, and not only did the Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup that night, but you think about it felt like an avalanche just waiting to happen when you know that Matthew Tkachuk isn't playing Game 5, and then Mark Stone gets a hat trick, who I believe he broke his hand in Game 5 too, as well, while scoring that hat trick. So no reason for the Panthers to not be fired up when they go back to the Fortress on Thursday night. So it's going to be an exciting one, and if the Panthers get 2 points out of that one, oh man, it's gonna be a fun Fairbanks Friday for sure. But Jacob,
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, where the Florida Panthers get a 4-1 road victory in Mullett Arena. Only their second visit there, and they get a win. And also, by the way, Matthew Tkachuk loves playing in the state that he was born in. 25% shooting coming into this one, and scores. So that's another awesome thing about Matthew Tkachuk returning to the state that he was born in. So Jacob, thank you so much for joining me once again. Let everybody know where they can find you online.
Nope. You can find me on X at Jacob Winans 8 and back here every Wednesday.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week, my friend.
Looking forward to it. See ya.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.